Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Marina Sirtis. Now, I like Marina Sirtis. In person, she's a bitch. I met her once in Australia and I tried to tell her a story as a fan, and she basically looked at me like, fuck off. Like, why are you telling me your shit? Take your autograph and go. She was a horrible person. And you can see that in her media and interview. She's just a bitch, but she's very funny. She's a very funny bitch. She's a very talented, charismatic, funny bitch, but she's a bitch, okay? She's the kind of person who beat you up on the soccer field because you don't like her team. She's that sort of person. But we all think of her as Councillor Troy, so we love her anyway. But okay, so she came out and she said a few things. She's gotten really political lately. I think she thought her career was over, so she just started being political, but then she kind of got a bit of a resurgence with Picard, and she was sort of like, oh crap, but she just kept going, so I'm kind of proud of her for that. What's happening in Texas is horrific. I've watched a few news items on it. It's just horrific. People are... I should have closed my windows. It was very hot yesterday and the day before in Australia, and I had my windows open for the air. It's cooled down today, as you can see by the fact I'm wearing a t-shirt, not a mesh singlet. I got pants on. But yeah, I forgot to close my windows. I apologise for that. I'm not going to start again. Okay, so Marina was talking about what's happened in Texas. What happened in Texas is horrible. I was watching a video with the good Como, the other one's in trouble, interviewing someone who was literally boiling like snow to flush the toilet, and this is after having multiple people use it because they only get so many flushes out of like some melted snow, and like just trying to manage no electricity, no water. People have died, a lot of people have died. It is a disaster. It is an emergency. It is it's just horrible what's happening. And the reason why it's happening though is because of Republican governing. Basically, and this is what people have said, and I agree with this and I can see this, basically, they were so obsessed with beating the left, beating the libs, winning over the libs. They went with the Republicans hard, and the Republicans only care about money and capitalism, and they sold them and their electric grid down the river, basically. Basically, they have so privatized their system that the businesses are in control. The government has no power. They can't tell them to do anything regulation-wise. So, of course, they don't do anything that's going to cost them money. They didn't, God, I want to say infiltrate. They didn't insulate any of the pipes. They didn't do any of the things they know they needed to do, because this is not the first time they've had a big freeze like this and the pipes have burst and they've had problems and people being without power. But this is probably the worst it's been because the grid has been so neglected because they're deregulated, and all the things that the companies, the electric water companies, had to do to keep their contracts and to service the public have been let go. They've just been let out of all this because, you know, big companies and money and profit, and basically they pay now. Bribes illegal. They basically pay the government to let them do whatever they want and profit. So they get all the people's money for the water and power and everything, but they don't put any money back into the infrastructure because there's no laws to say they have to anymore. There's no governing to say they have to do it. It's like, well, we're not going to spend all this money insulating our pipes. That takes out of our profit. That would cost us 10 million or something of our profit. So we're just going to let it go. The pipes will burst, people will die. That's okay because it doesn't cost us money. And that's who they voted in. That's the government they got. And what Marina said was, you get the government you vote. You get what you deserve, basically. You voted these people in. You wanted this type of government. You wanted this capitalist idea where, you know, these people just have all the money, have all the power, and they don't have to obey any rules or have any moral considerations, just profits. And this is what you get. You get no power, no electricity, you starve, you die. It's horrible, but they did it to themselves. Now, obviously not everyone voted for the Republicans. Not everyone voted for the government they've got. Not everyone who voted for them voted for the reasons that they got. But they still voted for them. Ultimately, they're responsible for their government. They didn't make their government beholden to them. They just said, So long as we win over the Liberals, as long as we win over the left, it's all that matters. We're right, we've got our politics, but we don't have our infrastructure, we don't have our electricity, we don't have our water. So Marina's totally right. I love what she said. Other people are saying it. The left, the mainstream media, the left are all saying it. It's because it's the truth. They neglected the power grid for 10 years. In 2001, 10 years ago, they had the same kind of storm. And they do the same routine every time. They go, oh, it's a once-in-a-century storm. No one could have predicted this, except it happened 10 years ago and 10 years before that. Because they know, but they don't want to spend the money to safeguard all of their infrastructure. Because that would take out of their profits. And that's what they care about. And you're allowing them that. So that's what you get. She's right. And all these people attacking her and saying, oh, you can't do that, you're in... And she's not kicking the people who are down. She's not attacking the people who have died. But she is just stating the truth that people don't want to hear. Because if they don't hear it, they don't change it, it's just going to happen again and worse, because they're going to spend less money on infrastructure in the next 10 years if they're allowed the same freedom and freedom from regulations. Because the idea is the government is supposed to say, okay, you want these contracts, you want our money, you have to do this, and maintain this infrastructure, maintain these facilities. And if that means you only get a certain amount of profit, well, that's what you get. But instead, they've been taking money from them. Oh, here, government, take our money, take our bribe, and then allow us to do whatever we want, so we can profit more by not putting money back into the infrastructure. We're going to take all the people's money for the water and electricity and not put any of it back into actually maintaining the infrastructure. Because we don't care if it fails. We've got insurance, and we don't care if people die. That's basically what's happened in Texas. It's horrible. It's a tragedy. I can't imagine. God, I lost power for like a night a few months ago, and I got shook by that. I'm like, God, people have been days without power in rainstorms with burst pipes everywhere and water everywhere. There was a very iconic picture of like frozen like icicles from a ceiling fan, and that there was a guy who took this who was being interviewed because the water had burst in the ceiling, was dripping down, and had frozen. That's what people are living in Texas right now. And they're like, oh, we just don't know how to cope with this because Texas is normally hot. Well, Texas has these kind of storms every few years. This whole myth of, oh, it's a once-in-a-lifetime storm, we couldn't prepare for it, which is what they say to the people, hoping they don't remember 10 years ago when it happened the last time. Oh, it makes me sick. It really makes me angry. That the government does this, that they're allowed to do it, that the people vote them in because of the politicking. They care less about their own safety and their own just health and their utilities. They care less about that than they do about winning over the Liberals or the political agendas that they support. And that's what you get. You can't play victim. You can't say, oh, we voted in these people knowing this is what they were going to do and this is what happened. Oh. So yeah, Marina did nothing wrong. The government did something wrong. And I live in fear of things like that happening in my country because politics is insane. And American politics is starting to bleed into Australia. The whole Trump playbook, people are starting to play by that in Australia. We've got a couple of fake news politicians who are riling up the right-wing people, and we're getting people protesting about the vaccinations and stuff because what monkey see, monkey do. What people see happening in America, they do here sometimes. That's the scary thing about social media. It does make the world a lot smaller place, and stupidity can spread just as much as information. But I'm going to go. I'm nearly at 10 minutes. I've waffled on. But, I saw what was happening in the US. I saw the news feeds, the news stories about the storms. I was horrified. And I didn't understand why they were having all these problems, why the water was off and all that. And then when I started to watch some of the news stories about that and realised why that was happening, I got so angry because I can't believe the government did this to the people for profit. But then, of course, I can believe it because they just care about themselves and their own money and their own bank accounts. They don't actually care about taking care of the people. They actually don't care about any of that. It's just, I don't know how they're going to fix this. It's so ingrained now that the government is just this capitalist thing. And it's just about money and power and not actually about serving the people and taking care of the people. I mean, I know there's always been issues with that in the past, but it's never been this bad that I'm aware of. I'm not a baby, I've been around for a little while, but I wasn't paying attention to politics as much when I was younger. But I don't recall it ever being this bad. But I'm going to go. I'm 10 minutes. I keep my rants to 10 minutes. I thought this was going to be a short one, but I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you agree with any of this, please let me know. Share it with me. I'm going to go and go support Marina Sirtis.